Now then, welcome back to another video. Today we're getting back to that Micro Four Thirds goodness because all of the images in this video were shot using the Lumix GX80. Now I have a whole video lined up talking specifically about that camera, but today is not that video. Instead, I want to talk you through a recent sunset photo walk I did with the GX80, and I'll just talk you through the thought process, which images I liked, which images I didn't think were so great, and what I would do differently in hindsight. Now I usually expect my fair shots to be my worst shots, as I've said many times before, but that wasn't the case on this particular day. I packed the car up by the village lighthouse, and before I even started filming, I noticed the light hitting the lighthouse and the houses to the right, while the houses on the left remained in shadow, and how the light in the foreground was pretty much doing the opposite thing. Light on the left, dark on the right. To finish it off, the cyclists rolled up in their bright shirt and stopped pretty much in the centre of the lighthouse. This added not only the human element, but also a sense of scale and a nice little pop of colour. Almost immediately after capturing this image, I noticed the reflection of the same scene in the tidal defence barrier, and I kind of liked the double exposure effect it created with the river in the background. Today we're going to be doing a POV. I've come out to the village of Paul. It's just on the bank of the River Humber, on the north bank of the River Humber, and just down the road from the villages of George, John and Ringo. So the plan is to walk all the way through the village from here where the docks are, and we've got the old shipyard over there, and then we're just going to go walking all the way through, past the houses, past the pub and all the rest of it. There's another lighthouse just inside the middle of the village, and then we're going to go beyond that to the far end of the village where Fort Paul is, and there's a couple more lighthouses over there. I'm just going to, take photos along the way, and then I will voice over what I was thinking about, because if you hear what I'm thinking about and talking about while I'm taking these photographs, it's just mostly incoherent nonsense. So, let's take some pictures. With this first image, I was basically playing with the rule of thirds and leading the lines. I had the horizon on the top third, and I had that leading line of the shoreline coming in from that bottom corner, sort of guiding you through the image to that third where those sunken barges sit. It's nice light, it's not a bad image, but I don't think it was anything to write home about. There were a lot of images taken in this specific area, and I think some of the others came out a lot better. I decided to walk down a little further so I had a better view of the sunken barges and the sun in the frame. I tried to maintain the same rule of thirds kind of thinking here, with that horizon on the top third, those rocks on the bottom third, and our subject pretty much smack bang in the middle. It's a much better shot in my opinion, but in hindsight I should have used a tripod, stuck some filters on there, or just bracketed the shot to keep better control of those highlights. So I took quite a few images in this particular spot, but I think this was about the best of the bunch. Still not perfect. I would like to get a higher vantage point to eliminate some of those rocks in that lower third and give you a better angle looking down at the barges. This is cool though. I just love this scene. This is one of those nature taking back kind of things. These barges are full of silt and dirt, and there's grass growing on them, and they're all rusty and all that kind of stuff. And I just think it's a very cool scene. But yeah, definitely could have been better. After capturing these images in this spot, I realised that something was off. Earlier in the day I checked the sunset time and I was pretty sure it had said 6:50. However, when I rechecked, it was actually 6:05, so I basically lost 45 minutes of light. So at this point we beelined through the village to try and make the most of what we had left and make it to the lighthouses at the far end of the village. I didn't really see much going through the village, and I expect it's because of the lack of light. I should have been there earlier. I expected to be there earlier, but you know, it is what it is. I did get this cool sort of comparison shot though, just to show you the importance of light. I saw this phone box and this skip kind of just in this space between these two houses, and there was some cool colours there. The red of the phone box, was some nice light and shadows playing on the wall when I took the shot earlier on in the day, but when I walked past at this point, I took the shot again just for this specific comparison, and you can see how much flatter it looks. The colours don't pop half as well. There's no of that interest on that blank wall. There's no light there. It's just kind of a bit boring. With the light, however, it's kind of got a bit more life to it. As we emerged at the other side of the village, I noticed that the sky behind us was starting to light up a little bit, and I was hoping that we were going to get some really quite dramatic colour. And again here on this image, I used the shoreline as a leading line, guiding us through and round to that ship with that colour in the sky just above it. Walking out of the village towards the two lowlights, I got to the river's edge and I saw all these wooden groins in the silt and in the mud, sort of just leading away from me in this cool line. We didn't have much light at this point, which is why I chose to make it black and white, but I still think it's pretty cool. This is another one of those images which I think could definitely have benefited from the light. The sky was quite boring, so I tried to eliminate that from the composition as much as possible. I used that leading line of the edge of the field coming in from the bottom right corner, sweeping around to that top third where those few trees were. I think it's a pretty cool shot. All along the shoreline from this point we started to see these yellow signs, and when I looked at this one I saw that the scene was pretty much divided into three: a third of sky, a third of water, and a third of land. So I swung the camera around just a little bit just to put that yellow sign on the left third, and that was my shot. There's another one of these signs a little bit further down, and I tried to shoot it wide to begin with, but it just didn't feel like it was dominant enough in the frame, so I flicked the composition to vertical, I punched in a little bit, and I was much happier with this version of the photograph. So we finally arrived at the lowlights, and as you can see by this image, the scene was almost naturally split into thirds. You got that bank of cloud in the top third, the sky and the lowlights in the center third, and the lower third was dominated by the land. I also tried to space the lowlights evenly, kind of left to right, and they're both looking off, out of frame to the right. The light was also awesome here. I really quite like this one. So we hung around in that area for a little bit. I didn't really get anything else from that spot. So we moved down to the other lowlight, and this one is bright red. And from where I was standing, I could see the reflection of the light in that small puddle there. There's also that seat. It's just, I don't know, I just really like the look of this scene. From pretty much the same spot, we looked over the river and you could see the rain coming down on that industrial area over there, and I just thought it looks really cool, so I got the shot. So this final image is one of my favorites from the day, and it's actually a blend of two images. I did a 2.5 second exposure for the sky to maintain that highlight detail and not blow everything out, and I did a 15-second exposure for the foreground and for the low lights in order to get enough detail in those shadows. I balanced it all out, and I think this was a great result. Only one thing I wish is that the orientation of the low light was different so that I could see its light, but again, that's impossible, so it is what it is. I still like the image. Alright, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the images and my talking through the thought process behind them. As I said at the beginning of the video, if I did this in real time, it would just be mostly incoherent nonsense and me grumbling and humming random alien ant farm songs and stuff like that. So yeah, this is just a much easier way to do it. So if you like this format, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.